Netflix just released the official teaser trailer for The Witcher Season 3, and boy oh boy, what a futile thing they are doing here. Henry Cavill may have even made a subtle dig at the show, per the release of this trailer, but we'll talk about that later. As most of you probably already know, we found out last October that Henry Cavill will no longer be playing Geralt of Rivia in Season 4 of The Witcher and any Witcher seasons they managed to scrape together following. However, given the reaction we've seen from fans over this controversy, I find it highly unlikely that we will be getting a Season 5 of The Witcher. Frankly, I'd be surprised if they even release Season 4. I do feel bad for Liam Hemsworth, Cavill's replacement on the show. As far as I know, he had nothing to do with Cavill's indifference toward the writers and the creators of the show, and it is too bad that his shot at playing Geralt's been marred in all this controversy. But we the fans have spoken. We respect Cavill's decision to leave because we respect him as a person, and we do not respect what the writers have done to this show. I'm going to take a quick look at why this happened in the first place, but a much closer look at Cavill's response to the teaser and what may be in store for Season 3 and future Witcher projects. The days of nerd culture or things that are considered geeky being scoffed at are long past. But why bring this up? Why is this relevant? Well, to put it into perspective, back in 2020, the global video game market was valued at $159 billion. And to put that into perspective, the film industry was valued at $41 billion, and the music industry at $19 billion. This means that the gaming industry value more than doubles the film industry and the music industry combined. There are a lot of things, hobbies, interests, what have you, that may have been considered geeky or nerdy, playing video games being a good example of this. At a time, it may have even been a secret guilty pleasure for some who kept their gaming habits to themselves. But now, surveys conducted in 2022 show that 70% of adults in the US play video games. And other statistics show that there are approximately 3.09 billion active video gamers worldwide. But again, why is this relevant? Well, fans of Henry Cavill know that Cavill is a self-proclaimed nerd.
Yeah, I was playing a game called World of Warcraft. I missed the call from Zack Snyder to tell me I got Superman.
But did you hear the phone ringing?
I did.
And you chose to ignore it?
Absolutely.
But more so than that, he's a fan. He's relatable, he builds computers, loves all things Warhammer, and has read the Witcher books and played the games. He even attempted a run on the Death March difficulty mode. And yes, I am aware that the show is based on the books, albeit loosely, but nonetheless. However, while Andrzej Sapkowski's Witcher book sold 15 million copies worldwide, the Witcher 3 game sold 40 million copies. 65 million if you include the other two games. But my point is simple. What Hollywood fails to grasp when they adapt beloved IPs such as The Witcher is that they are dealing with an audience of very impassioned individuals who know the lore, who understand the source material, and do have expectations. Sure, you'll get some normies who don't know what The Witcher is and watch it because the trailer looks cool, and that's okay, that's great. But the numbers don't lie. There are millions upon millions of people who read the Witcher books, who played the Witcher games, and Henry Cavill is one of them. And as consumers, we should have expectations. That's normal. If you went into Best Buy to buy a new TV and instead they tried to sell you some velvet curtains, you'd be pissed. In their attempts to pander to a broad audience, Netflix and showrunner Lauren Hisrich created a show that is looking less and less like The Witcher. And when left to their own devices, it gets even worse. And we all know how that went. The Witcher Blood Origin. A roughly $60 million fan fiction disaster. Netflix's lowest rated show of all time. They took the name Witcher, slapped it onto some glorified fan fiction, concocted by a writing team composed of anti-Witcher, anti-fan, woke activists. It didn't help either that not so long before its release, Henry Cavill announced his decision to move on from the franchise amidst continued disagreements between him and the showrunners/writers. But as fans, we know where he's coming from. We understand this frustration. Over the last few years, we've been forced to bear witness to some of our most beloved IPs being turned into shallow Hollywood garbage with an ever-present agenda. Star Wars, Marvel, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, the list goes on. At what point did it become the norm to alienate fans? To take something that we know and love and turn it into something else? There is a way to do that. It's called writing your own story, not piggybacking off the back of someone else's story and changing it to your own liking. All the while assuming that you can't fail because these IPs come with pre-established fans. However, what Hollywood failed to realize is that these fan bases are people, real people with real opinions. We're not some small group of outlying nerds. Again, the numbers don't lie. We're talking about millions and millions of people. And instead of pandering to the Hollywood elites, maybe you should have pandered to your audience. Fan service is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to pre-established stories and IPs. As of writing this, The Witcher Season 3 trailer has already been ratioed at 54,000 likes to 248,000 dislikes. Once again, the numbers don't lie. Fans are clearly frustrated, but what might this look like for Season 3's performance? Well, fan response seems pretty positive toward Cavill and negative toward the rest. Comments such as, "The finale looks great," and "Oh look, the final season of The Witcher," really show what fans think of the show going forward. They do not want to see The Witcher without Henry. I myself recall feeling nervous when I heard that Henry Cavill would be playing Geralt of Rivia. I thought he was too pretty and the role was cast poorly. However, my opinion quickly changed after watching the first episode of Season 1. Not only did he embody the character almost perfectly, but you could tell he really knew Geralt. In my opinion, Season 1 was pretty good. The world building was atrocious, but the way they played each episode like its own self-contained short story, I appreciated, given that the first two Witcher books, The Last Wish and The Sword of Destiny, were short story collections. I have read the Witcher books and am quite familiar with the lore, so naturally I was not a fan of Season 2. They fixed the world building problem, yet completely butchered the rest. The story was all over the place, with Geralt sort of falling into the background while Ciri and Yennefer took center stage. The story itself was also pretty far removed from the lore. I expect Season 3 will be more similar to Season 2 rather than Season 1, given that it was the season that convinced Henry that it was time to move on. And given what we saw in The Witcher Blood Origin, my expectations are low. However, given that hate watching is slowly becoming a fad, and this is Henry's last season on the show, I expect fans will tune in to watch. Given that Netflix is said to cancel shows that have a lower than 50% completion rating, I expect Season 4 will likely be the end of Netflix's The Witcher, if it even happens at all. People may tune in to get a look at the new Witcher out of sheer curiosity, but I don't expect many to finish the season based on the widespread negative opinions of fans at this point. Even if viewership is high for Season 3, I don't expect this to reflect viewership for future seasons. The narrative is the same. The showrunner Lauren Hisrich and her writing team chose their own creative impulses over Cavill and over the source material. Beau DeMayo, a writer who previously worked on the show, spoke on a podcast last year about how many writers on The Witcher were not fans and actively disliked the books and games, even mocking the source material. This led DeMayo to enact a rule that to work on X-Men 97's, which he is currently head writing, you had to be a fan. He went on to state in regards to writers disliking the source material, and I quote, "It's a recipe for disaster and bad morale. Fandom is a litmus test for checking egos and makes all the long nights worth it. You have to respect the work before you're allowed to add to its legacy," end quote. I bring this up because it's a good way to illustrate just what went wrong. These individuals had their shot, and they decided to let their creative juices run wild. However, as we've seen with The Witcher Blood Origin, this particular team of writers doesn't have the creativity nor the talent to create something good. But that's besides the point. They had the privilege of adapting Andrzej Sapkowski's books. They had the privilege of adapting Witcher, an IP that has millions of fans, and they had an opportunity to make those fans happy and to give them Witcher on the big screen. But as Cavill stated back in 2021 in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, he was absolutely committed to the role, quote, "as long as we keep telling great stories which honor Sapkowski," end quote, which sadly, they did not do. That Star Wars girl pointed out on Twitter that on April 24th, the day Lauren Hisrich is posting about the reveal of the Witcher Season 3 poster, Henry Cavill posted a reel of his Guy Ritchie movie on Instagram. By the way, that poster is hilarious. Look how much they tried to hide him. Anyways, Cavill has since posted in regards to the Witcher Season 3 announcement, but look at these posts here. Quote, "That's a wrap. My days on the ungentlemanly warfare are over. 'Tis a sad day. I'm going to echo the sentiments of my co-stars and sing the praises of our intrepid crew. It's rare to come across a team so driven, dedicated, and committed to storytelling," end quote. He goes on in this post to talk about how grateful he is to the crew and to Guy Ritchie and basically how much he enjoyed working on this project. It's actually a really heartwarming post. You should check it out. The following day, however, Netflix released the teaser trailer for Witcher Season 3, and Cavill posted this. Hashtag Witcher Season 3, hashtag Netflix. I love this so much. Cavill gets it. I can't help but picture Cavill watching all the YouTube videos and seeing all the love he's gotten online in the last few months and just grinning. He is certainly a man of class and will most definitely land on his feet. Netflix's The Witcher, on the other hand, sadly, will not. Well, that's the video, everybody. Please subscribe. I really love making these and I'd like to keep making them, so please subscribe and like the video. If you stuck around this long, I thank you for watching. Have a great day.
I'm curious if that's comparable to this sort of world, this culture of toxic fandom, where like if you make a movie, especially if you make a superhero movie, like you have great intentions, but there are always going to be a small yet vocal group of people there can kind of just be toxic.
I understand what you're saying, but when it comes to fans, it is a fan's right to have whatever opinion they want to have. And people are going to be upset because, especially when you're talking about books or games, because you're never going to be the exact person who they had in their head or who they played on Witcher 3, for example. I don't necessarily consider that toxic. I just consider that passionate.